Hi, Cub Scouts. My name's Steve Agnew. I'm a scouter here in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, also with Connecticut Yankee Council. Much like you, I used to be a Cub Scout and a Weeblo, and then eventually I got into Scouts and made my way all the way up to Eagle Scout. I'm still involved in scouting, as you could tell by my wonderful uniform, but I was asked to talk to you today regarding your Cub Camp that's going on right now in Ancient Civilizations. So, I've got a secret that most people don't know, and I wanted to tell you. I've got a secret identity. I'm Batman. What? No. You said I could wear this week. Okay, I could do this all day. What? Not this either? God, you're no fun. Okay, I'll tell them the real truth. Actually, I'm an archaeologist. Believe it or not, specifically a Greek archaeologist. But I owe my career and my background in archaeology all with scouting. Scouting really is what got me interested in archaeology. I wasn't really interested in doing work in an office. I wanted to go out and I wanted to be outside doing things, digging in the dirt, having adventures, everything that scouting gave me early on. So what I want to talk to you today is a little bit of how scouting got me today. A lot of the things that I learned in scouting got me to be the archaeologist that I am. So I have a master's degree in archaeology from Boston University. But before that, in my undergrad, I did a lot of traveling across Greece to all the various sites. Even spending a year there, living there, and going to classes in many of the sites and museums, including the Parthenon. Then after that, I started doing work on different archaeological sites, getting myself connected with different teams. And they all saw me as a huge resource because I was the guy that was rough and tough and knew about the knots and was always prepared. I always had this little belt with me that was full of a whole bunch of different gadgets. So what are the tools that archaeologists use? Well, got the shovel, the rake, not so much. I'd love to use this, but I can't. Sometimes, but this is mostly for gardening. I wish, but no, not this either. Lots and lots of books. Definitely need a map. I can't have a map without a compass. The true tool of any archaeologist is a trowel. I know it's small and whatnot, but you use this to scrape away inch by inch, slowly over time, the different layers of history in the dirt. This particular one is a Marshall trowel. It's favored by many archaeologists because it is a full, solid piece, unlike a welded piece. So if you become an archaeologist, get your hands on a Marshallton trowel. So I had spent several years doing excavations in and around Greece. I spent a year living in Greece and going to school, and I highly recommend it if you ever get to school to do a year abroad somewhere. While I was in Greece, specifically Athens, I was doing some work with several students. One particular student, she had heard that I was an Eagle Scout and asked me if I'd be interested in going on a camping hike through the mountains of Arcadia. Now, the mountains of Arcadia are in the middle of the Peloponnese, this peninsula of Greece. It's very remote, but there were some very interesting sites up there. So I agreed to take a long weekend, got my backpack, got my tent, and off we went into the mountains of Arcadia. We got ourselves dropped off at a town called Dimitsana. I had all my maps, so I was using my scout skills at that point, using my orienteering, bringing the food, making fires, sending our tent up, and we were hiking across the mountainside of Arcadia. Now, I hadn't known that at this time this was going to be the beginning of a very long journey for me, and scouting gave me the skills to get there. So as we were going through the mountains, we were passing by these very small villages on these roads that may see a car once or twice a week. It really was remote. I didn't know how remote it was until we started hiking a little bit further out. Now, I was hiking with a New York Yankees hat on, and obviously we were not Greek people, so we're hiking through the villages, and villagers are coming out of their houses, coming to see us and to talk to us. So we ended up walking through, and we come to find out after talking to several people, we were the first Americans they had ever seen since World War II. So we're talking about, between that time, about 40 to 5 years since they had seen anybody. Very remote, again. So we're continuing to walk through, and we stop at a village called Paleocastro. And we were brought into kind of as guests to the mayor, if you will, of the village. And in our very brackish, broken Greek, we told them that we were actually studying archaeology in Athens. And they said, "Oh, okay. Well, that explains why you're here. You must be here to see our site." And I'm looking around going, I have no idea what he's talking about. We're so remote. I don't think there's anything out here. Sure enough, he waved me on, and we walked away from the village, and we started going up a hillside. And as we started going up on the hillside, at the top of the hill was a little chapel at the very top of the hill. But as we started walking, we immediately went through fortification walls, large fortification walls. Now, interestingly enough, these fortification walls were Roman fortification walls. Stone with some brickwork still on top of it. That's kind of strange to have Roman bricks and Roman fortification walls in the middle of Greece. Okay, we started hiking up the hillside a little bit more, and I started seeing pottery shard and pieces of marble. My head was exploding immediately. Halfway up the hill, we came to another circuit of fortification walls. These were classical Greek fortification walls, around 450 BC. This is about the time of Pausanias, the time of Plato and Socrates and the Peloponnesian War, roughly around that time frame. Again, amazed. Got to the very top of the site itself, and on the very top were Mycenaean Cycladic fortification walls. Now, this is 1250 BC. That is the time of the Trojan War with Homer and the Iliad. So if you imagine, I just spent maybe 300, 400 yards of walking, and I went through 3 civilizations on this one hill alone. Absolutely amazing. So we talked a little bit more to the mayor about it. There had been a survey, but no real excavation of the site itself. There was a survey done by a French team back in the 50s. Now, the other thing he said is, okay, would you like to go see our tombs? Tombs. They had 15 tholos tombs. Those are tombs dug into the side of the hill. Tombs like that are only made for dignitaries, people who are rich or wealthy or royalty, if you will. Those tholos tombs are, again, during the time of the Trojan War, the time of Agamemnon. Again, having significant tombs like that means that there is somebody important. This is an important site. And I just didn't understand why in the world nobody knew about this site. So I went back. I did some more research on this site, Paleocastro. Come to find out, it was actually mentioned by Pausanias when he was traveling around the Peloponnese. But otherwise, it really wasn't known at all. So I decided this was it. This was the site. You have Roman, Classical Greek, and Bronze Age Greek, the Trojan War. 3 civilizations living on this. And oh, by the way, this village is still here 2,000 years later. So if you think about it, that's 3,000 years of history, people living on this hillside in the middle of nowhere. Now you may wonder, why does nobody know about this? Well, to understand that, you have to realize that it's so remote, nobody would come there. So there's really no point in putting an excavation there because no one's going to see the site and pay money. So, and there's a lot of ancient sites in Greece. So I think the Greeks were getting around to it. Okay. So a couple years later, I'm doing some more work in Greece, and I come back to Greece. I do a little bit more survey work, and I decide this is it. This is where I'm going to do my master's thesis. Now, this is the step before you get to your doctorate. I decide I'm going to do a survey at this site. Very aggressive, but scouting helped me get there. How did scouting help me get there? It helped me get prepared. It helped me do the research. It helped me do the planning that as you grow older into scouting, you'll get to learn the leadership skills and the coordination and the planning that you'll get. If anything, I would harken back to when I did my Eagle Scout project. It's the same type of idea. You have to set down what you're going to do. You have to think about it. You have to be prepared for all the different contingencies. So that's what I did. I did a lot of research. And so what eventually I did in order to do it, I had to get a permit from the Greek government. Now that's very difficult if you understand that. Getting a permit from the Greek government is very rare because you're competing against other universities and other doctors and other teams doing archaeological work. But because of the time that I had worked and lived in Greece, I knew a lot of people, so I had some connections. So one of my claim of fames actually is I am the youngest person to ever get a permit from the Greek government to run an archaeological survey. I beat out a couple of universities, believe it or not. So here I am. I've got my permit. I've got my team. I fly them over. We set them up, and we spent the next couple of weeks doing work at my site. Doing survey work, doing some testing work, and finding some amazing pieces of pottery, some amazing pieces of fortification. So from that, we did all our work, wrote it all up, again like an Eagle project. You finish it up and you present it to the Greek government, to the E4, who's the minister in the area, and they were just absolutely amazed. He was looking through the paperwork going, really? Flipping through, really? All this is here? We didn't know all of this was here. And they thanked me very much for that. And so to this day, because of the work that I did, they didn't know all the information that was there. They actually turned it around and made a field school at the site that I had worked on because there was so much information, years and years and decades. Now, it's been about 30 years since that, maybe a little less than 30 years since that. And the field school is still going strong, just to give you an amount of idea of how much material and how much is out there. But I couldn't have done any of that without scouting, from the skills, the organization, the leadership, collaboration, all the skills that scouting gave me. And what I give to you is stick with scouting. Scouting is going to give you skills for your lifetime. You are going to be amazed, and you too are going to have the adventure of your life if you stick with scouting. Thank you.